Good morning, everyone. We are now moving to lecture 6, and we'll cover this topic, e-procurement and e-payment. I'm sure now you know what procurement is, e-procurement is, and also the payment part of it. Just computerize that payment, then it becomes e-payment. This is what we are going to look at today. E-payment, we are looking at these things. We are looking at purchasing online. That's the basic process. For it to work correctly, we are looking at the merchant who is connected to his bank and the customer also connected to the issuing bank. And the solution is the payment gateway that connects your online store to the institutions and the processor. So you must understand what a gateway is, and you must understand what is the processor. Then from there, this means the gateway should be provided by a company which is well known and which has got a good reputation with a lot of experience. Payment processing network, we need to understand these terms so that we can follow the payment process. Participants and elements involved in this, we are talking of an acquiring bank, and the acquiring bank is the one which is online and which in the online payment process the payments. So the acquiring bank is for the merchant. That's where the merchant account is situated. Then we've got a process called authorization. The process by which a customer credit card is verified. So either it's accepted or it's rejected. So the transaction can be rejected or it can be accepted. Then the other term you must understand is credit card association. This is a financial institution that provides credit card services. And then the customer. This should understand. You might be their customer. So if you are a customer, you are the one who has got a credit card, or debit card, holder of payment instrument. Customer issuing bank, that's the customer's bank. This is the one where the payment is made. Internet merchant account, this is a special account with an acquiring bank that allows the merchant to accept credit cards, accept or reject them over the internet. And then the merchant obviously is the seller or the supplier, someone who owns a company that sells products or services. Payment gateway. This is a service provided which provides connectivity among the merchants and the customers and financial networks. So you must understand these terms. And then the processor, this is a machine, obviously, a computer machine, which then allows the transaction to go through. Then the other term which I'm going to look at is settlement. The process by which transactions with authorization codes are sent to the processor for payment to the merchant. Why the merchant? Because the company is the seller. Settlement is of sort of electronic bookkeeping procedure that causes all funds from captured transaction to be routed to the merchant acquiring bank so that the merchant is paid for the services. How payment processing works, how does it work? It's important. Then you must understand these two processes, which are quite different. Authorization and settlement. This is important. Authorization and payment. Authorization and settlement. Sorry, it's authorization and settlement. Authorization verifies that the cards are active and thus the customer is the real owner and that the man is also there. Settlement. This involves transferring of amount to be paid by the customer to the account of the merchant. That's the process. I would rather give you just a minute so that you find out how this goes. How does it go from point 1 to point 8? This is authorization. What is the process? I hope this is something which is quite simple. You can see it starts with the customer, who then asks the merchant that I want this product, and the merchant says, okay, let me have the card. He processes the card through the gateway, then to the processor. That's the connectivity which is required to the issuing bank. The issuing bank then says, okay, fine, this credit is his, this card is his, and then goes through the same process back to the merchant, then back to the customer. It's authorized now. Okay? You always do this, maybe in the supermarkets or whatever. All right? When the authorization is allowed, then it says approved on the machine. This is what we're talking about. That's the authorization. All right? But how does this process go? There you are. This is the process which I'm trying to explain, which is depicted in the diagram. A customer decides to make a purchase on a merchant website, proceeds to check out, and inputs credit card information. You give the merchant your card. The merchant website receives the customer information and sends transaction information to the payment gateway through the processor, and then the processor sends the information to the issuing bank. The issuing bank then, what does it do? Number 5, issuing bank sends the transaction result. It's either it's declined or it's authorized. All right. The processor routes back, it's the same process, all right? Back to the gateway, from the gateway, then back to the merchant, then the merchant says, right, I'm not going to give you the goods, or I'm going to give you the goods because you are the owner and the money is available. That's number 8. That's the authorization. Understand this process. Try to understand this process. It's important for you to understand this process, all right? You can give a practical example, as I've said, when you are purchasing in the supermarket. It's the same thing we're talking about. This is online. All right. I don't think this will be difficult for you. Then the other term which you must understand is settlement. When we have authorized, but the payment is not yet done. So if it is not yet done, we want to settle that so that the payment is done. How is the payment done? It's very important. This is from the issuing bank to the acquiring bank, customer's bank to the merchant's bank. All right. So that's the process. I always ask a question. Where do we start? The authorization has been done. So what is the beginning point? If you are looking at the diagram, what is the beginning point? But you can easily see that the beginning point is the merchant, because the merchant now has given you the goods, but he wants his money. All right? So he asked through the gateway, the network, to the processor. The processor says, right, you have said, the acquiring bank has said you have got the money and he or she is the owner of the card. All right. So the processor sends the acquiring bank. The acquiring bank then credits or pays the merchant. But at the same time, the processor has got the process of going back to the issuing bank. All right. That we want the money, and we have taken the money from your account, from your customer's account to the acquiring bank. All right. But the customer needs to know. The issuing bank needs to know. So the issuing bank will then say, right, thank you very much. Now we are notifying the customer. But these two processes, as you know, they just take a few minutes or a few seconds, the process will be through. I hope this is simple to understand, but there are problems. I'd rather refer you back to our auction lecture. The auction lecture talked about the fraud, possibility of frauds. Even here, the possibility of frauds are there. It is very important to avoid that. What should you know about the fraud? Don't be cheated. Choose payment services provider that is well established and credible. This, again, that's the part of your banking system. You are not the one who chooses that. Make sure your payment gateway provider offers real time before you even go on to out of the supermarket. You know very well that the balance which is left is so much, and I have paid so much. So that's the real time. It must provide the real time. All right. One of the simplest ways to reduce risk of fraudulent transaction is to use address verification. This matches the cardholder billing address, the address of the person on the file, with the billing address submitted to ensure the cardholder is the owner. You are the one. Use card security. I'm sure you've got MasterCards. Behind the MasterCard, there are 3 digits. That's a security. That shows that your card is secure. And those numbers are totally different from card to card. Then you can also watch out on your monthly orders, the items which you have purchased. Some go on to develop a negative card and shipping address list, and they cross-check the transactions. Why? Because the internet has got a problem. This is where all takes place. This is where we lose our money. What do you look for in a payment processing solution? What are you going to look for? Reliable and cost-effective. Accept and process a variety of payment types, including credit cards and electronic checks. Not only does this reduce lost sales, but it also enhances the quality of your site by allowing your customers the freedom and the flexibility to pay them quickly and conveniently. If you are a merchant, it's very important that you have this solution. Provide a real-time credit card authorization. This is important, and I'm sure I've experienced it in your daily life. Easily track and manage payments from multiple sources, because it can be cheated. Provide recurring billing payment services, allowing you to set up scheduled payment charges to your customers. If they pay, if they not paid, what's happening? Are they not cheating me? So the billing payment service is important. If you are a merchant, be able to act as a virtual terminal offline. You can do that. Provide and store transaction records, allowing you to easily search for transaction and create transaction requests. Audit trails will also help you. Scale rapidly and seamlessly to accommodate increased transaction volumes. If the volumes are going up, then you must be in a position to scale rapidly and seamlessly without any problem. Provide flexible ease in the website if you are an individual, if you are a customer. All right. But this provision usually is provided by our banks. That's why they make us pay interest. Be able to work with all the leading internet merchants now, able to work with all the internet, which allows you to switch your banking relationships You can move from one bank to another. If you are cheated with another bank, then you can go on to the other bank. I'll give you an example, but I won't mention the bank. Whereby I was depositing, my salary was going there. But each time I check my balance, there was something I missed. And I was really wondering, what is happening here? Then I decided, let me take all the money out and see what happens. Then they phoned and said, say, this was a late. You have not paid your loan. I said, yes, I got them now. I said, what loan? Said, yes, you did not pay the loan. You have got a loan which you are paying for some months. Then I said, yeah, I want to know the loan and who applied for that loan. Then that became a problem. She didn't come back to me. I went to the bank and I asked for details. They were really jittering. And I said, fine, can I have my money back? It took a bit of some time. I went there one day and I said, well, if this is the case, then I'm not going to go out. You lock me in until you give me the money. I was given the money, I took everything out, and that was the end of the relationship. The banking relationship, it's important. Be provided by a well-established and trustworthy company. This ensures that your payment service provider will continue to provide reliable payment services as well as new features or upgrades. Online payment auction fraud. Just a reminder, we have already covered this. We have already explained this in our e-auction lecture. This is just a reminder. This happens. You can read this in your articles. You can also read our lecture on e-auction. It does explain this diagram. This is an important diagram. And it also reminds you that online payments can be fraudulent. They can be fraudulent. It's just a reminder. Then I'm asking what is happening in the above diagram. Then I'm saying read the article which I've already given you on online auction fraud in the Republic of Korea. There is an article. Just go and read that and understand it. Okay? Payment methods through smart cards. Is this a solution of fraudulent activities? Maybe it is, but you want to argue that this is a solution or that this is not a solution, and then give me a feedback. From the anti-crime perspective, there are a number of benefits in adopting the smart card. Unfortunately, I don't know whether we've got in Zimbabwe, but to my knowledge, I don't think we have this one. But in South Africa, they do. They do have what we call a smart card. And how does it work? The card itself, or in conjunction with the terminal, can make decisions. It's the card which makes the decisions on whether the transaction should go ahead or should not go ahead. It has got secret values that can be stored on the card that are not accessible to the outside world, allowing, for example, the card to check the card holder's PIN number without even going online. There is also a possibility of modifying the way the card works while it is inserted in a point of sale terminal, even to the point of blocking the transaction. That's why it is called smart card. All right. The ability to have more than one payment application resident on the card. For example, a card could contain an electronic purse to provide the equivalent to cash, usually for lower value transactions such as parking, tickets, newspapers, and so forth. The ability to have other applications such as loyalty schemes and access to information facilities, libraries, and so on. The possibility of reducing online validation costs. That's why it is smart. It's very smart, very smart. The question is, does it solve fraudulent activities? Please answer me. And thank you very much for listening.